So my goal is to really make leadership into a process. You have a lot of processes at work. You have a sales process. You have an inventory process. Well, how do we turn leadership into a process? And there's a few errors that go on why this is such a challenge today for leaders. So I'm going to walk through some of these leadership errors, give you some reasons. I'll put this down. So what are some of these key errors in creating this leadership gap, but which is really, you may want to look at this, it's an opportunity for you. One of the keys is this generalization error. I see it all the time in organizations that I'm in, and I'm in a lot of different organizations, from healthcare to entertainment to financial, and what happens? You are a great individual performer. You're so good, you get deadlines going, you're motivated, you have good relationships with others, you're able to deal with change. You're so good at that, what happens? We say, or your boss says, oh, you're so good, now we're going to give you these 5 people. Well, in your own skill level, you have schoolwork, classes, certification, experience, and now you're put into almost another world. And in one way, it's almost unfair that you now have to motivate others. You now have to delegate to others. You now have to give feedback to others. Many people have had maybe a class, and you're in this realm where that's where your success is, where you don't have any of the training, any of the background that you do have in your technical expertise as an individual performer. So it's unfortunate, and in a sense I have a lot of empathy for the people that I work with, that often when I come in as an executive coach, or I come in as working with leadership development, it's sometimes the first exposure they've had to what are the tools they need in their next job. So there's this generalization of skill. You're good at X, therefore doing it yourself, therefore you're going to be good at doing it with others. The other one is the spotlight. Brand new leaders don't realize that they're under the spotlight 24/7. What does that mean? Imagine you had a spotlight, it's following you around. So everything you say is magnified, everything you do is magnified. You are racing down the hall to get to a meeting, you pass 2 or 3 of your direct reports. You don't say anything to them because you got to get to the meeting. What do they end up thinking? You don't like them, you're angry with them, you know they're late on a deadline and you don't want to confront them. Each of those assumptions, wrong, wrong, wrong. But that's kind of what happens, and often leaders don't realize you're under the spotlight 24/7. I had a leader that I work with that was as a manager. This person was very affiliative with her group, and she was able to connect with them really well. And this happens not only for this woman, but also happens for men and women, very well connected. And in this situation, this person went out after work, so off-site, after hours. Hey, I could do whatever I want. This could be you. Off-site, after hours. This manager, with a little bit of this collegiality and then a little bit of alcohol, all of a sudden started bashing the executives. And it happens in every situation, male or female, that can happen. And really, what's the key thing? Alcohol gives you that little bit of a loose tongue. This person ended up getting back, the information got back to the executives. They moved her to a more individual position, and really it somewhat derailed this person's career because they didn't realize the spotlight was still on after hours, off-site. So we're all guilty of that. That happens to all of us. So realizing in every meeting, I've had people say, so you mean I have to be on my best behavior when I'm in meetings? Not only in this meeting, in every meeting that you're in, because people are constantly taking snapshots. One of the things that I often tell people, and this is part of the influence piece, supposedly you have about under a second to make an impression on someone. And I recently heard, you have about 7 seconds to, make an impression, and then another 7 seconds to reinforce that. So if those first 7 seconds are positive, you're in great shape. Often I call this the one-hand rule or snapshot management, which really goes to that spotlight. So what is snapshot management? You have 5 opportunities. People got a lot of things going on. They take a snapshot of you. It's typically when? In your meetings. You're in a meeting, your hand goes up, you're taking initiative, you're a go-getter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happens. They're going to end up saying, this person's a go-getter. Great. If some of those are negative, which I'm sure for some of you that's happened, people I've coached, it's happened. And in this one-hand rule, if they're positive, you're in great shape. Why? You have a strained relationship. You drop a deadline. You miss something that's really important. What happens? People give you the benefit of the doubt. Why? This is you. 5 of these snapshots, because we don't have a lot of time, it's around the attribution and image management. That's it. If some of these are negative, 2 or 3, and I usually ask people that I coach, how many of these are positive? Sometimes I know from the coaching that some of them aren't positive. And I say, how many are positive? I don't say how many are negative. How many are positive? And they say, well, 2 or 3. If you're telling me 2 or 3, I know it's 1 or 2. What happens in that case? It's an uphill battle for you. Sometimes those folks come to coaching. Sometimes that may be someone who's trying to move up in the organization. And because we're on automatic more than we think, they don't realize those snapshots were taken. And so this person who has 2 or 3 of these that are negative, it's an uphill battle because that becomes who you are. Snapshots, that's you. You may be great for month 1, none of these. If some of these are negative, month 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. What happens on the 7th month? That the same thing happens here. Strained relationship, drop deadline. What do people say? What they don't say is, oh, you've really been improving. Everything's been great. What happened here? What they do say is, there you go again. Totally wrong, totally inappropriate for the hard work that you're doing or one of your direct reports are doing. It's really unfortunate. You almost have to be perfect because now you've lost the benefit of the doubt. And part of that is, as a leader, it's the snapshots. Some of these snapshots happen in meetings. Often some snapshots happen in emails. You're just firing out an email and people misread it. You've given them something to misread. So that's the spotlight. I think you got a good sense of that. We talked a little bit about your influence, that every leader doesn't realize their influence. So everything that you say, people read into. Everything that you don't say, they read into. And so I think as a leader, understanding what comes out of your mouth really should be very conscious. And one of my themes, and I'm really trying to focus with people today, we're all on automatic. We're in automatic as much as about 95% of the time. A big part of this focus is how can you be more of a conscious leader so that you can be more in charge of your life and in charge of your contributions. And so some of these tips that we'll be going through just allow you to be a little bit more conscious because you have a lot more influence and a lot more ability to help your organization and to help your team and to help your family. So if you improve your situation at work, that's going to help your family. You're going to have a promotion. You're going to be able to have more money available to do some things that you want to do with your family.